Have you ever hitchhiked? If you saw my last video in Imswan, you might have seen my boyfriend Sam and I try to hitchhike from Imswan to TAGHAZOUT. And if you're new here, my name's Amy. I'm a full-time travel content creator who's originally from Toronto, Canada, and now I get paid to travel. Before I share more information about traveling in TAGHAZOUT and exploring that area, I wanted to get into hitchhiking around Morocco because it seems to be a common thing that people do, and just let you know what the experience is like, so let's get into it. First, let me just say that I've been traveling on and off for 8 years and I've only hitchhiked probably 3 times in total. So this isn't something that I'm comfortable doing all the time, and if you are choosing to do so, make sure you're being careful about it and safe. I personally would only feel comfortable hitchhiking with another person or a group, which is why I don't do it when I'm traveling solo. I'd also recommend only doing it in places where hitchhiking is really common for backpackers, and try to stick to a short path and a short route. I wouldn't try to hitchhike for a long stretch of time. This hitchhiking experience was only about an hour, so I'd stick to an hour or less, especially if you're alone. Alright, so let's get into the actual story because it's too good not to share, and if you're skeptical about hitchhiking and you're a little bit on the fence, maybe it will sway you and change your mind. So once again, we were in Imswan, which is a small surf town, and we were planning on getting back to TAGHAZOUT, which is a larger surf town on the coast of Morocco. We asked our hostel where we should go to hitchhike. There's only one road going in and out of the town, which made it pretty easy, and it was also really close to where the hostel was, so they told us to just go over to that road. They told me to be in the front and me to be the one sticking my thumb up because people like to pick up girls more than guys, but it really didn't take us as long as we'd think to find someone. We'd only been walking for about a minute and I said to Sam, kind of jokingly, like, watch us get picked up by the first car that passes us. And sure enough, we did. I had just started putting our bags on the ground and Sam saw a car drive up, so he stuck his thumb up and literally the first car that we saw stopped for us. So 2 guys were in this car and one of them got out immediately and started opening the trunk for us to put our things in, which initially I was kind of like, is this a bit weird? But they were super nice. We quickly found out it was a father and son from Florida, and they were well traveled, especially the father, Ed, and had so many stories to share, which I'll get into in a second. But basically we threw our stuff in and the guy from the hostel actually saw us get into this car and took a photo and sent it to me on Instagram, which I thought was really funny that he just saw the whole thing go down. But yeah, we got in the car, introduced ourselves, started talking. They were heading to TAGHAZOUT, which is perfect, and we just had this hour-long drive with them and it was amazing. The father, Ed, told us how he had drunkenly bought property in Essaouira, which is a coastal town nearby, when he, like, decades ago, with a friend that was also traveling with him, and he now comes to and from the US and Morocco and spends lots of time there. He also just had the craziest life and so many stories to share. He had traveled a lot. He lived in Iran, spoke Farsi, spoke German, told us about how he married an Iranian woman and then married Eric's mother, and had been married for 40-something years now. And it was just incredible hearing his stories, really getting to know him. And then on the flip side, his son Eric was also really interesting. He worked in different events in the US, and when COVID happened, he told us how he started getting into juggling, and he would do that on the street corners in Denver, and was actually making good money doing that during COVID when he didn't have a job. They wanted to stop and get breakfast along the way because they hadn't had any food yet, so we did that. And the conversation was just flowing so naturally. They were asking me about my job, I was asking about their lives, we were talking about Sam, and it was such a good experience. By the time we got dropped off, they left us right by our hostel, which was perfect. We exchanged information because you never know if you're going to stay in touch or meet these people again. And it was just really a great experience, and my other hitchhiking experiences were really short drives, so I didn't get to know the people as well, and this one is one that will definitely stick with me. Oh, and just to go back for a second, near the end of the drive, one of Ed's friends, the one he bought property with, a British guy, actually gave him a call, and it was just really funny hearing him on speaker have this full-blown conversation and just like them planning stuff together and their travels. It just gave us like more insight into his life, and I feel like it was such a good way to connect with new people and really get to know them, even though it was a short period of time. After spending this time with Eric and Ed, Sam and I were in such a good mood, It honestly made our day getting to know them, having this good connection, and just hearing so many interesting travel stories. I also heard that hitchhiking in Morocco is really easy to do just because there's so many people in camper vans from Europe that are traveling around, and they don't really mind if you just hop in the back and get from place to place. So I felt a lot more comfortable doing it in Morocco just because I knew it was a very popular place to hitchhike and one where lots of people do it safely. So if you are going to give it a try, definitely choose a spot where it's done quite often with tourists and they always have good experiences. Of course, if you're choosing to hitchhike, use your senses. Don't get in the car with someone that you are not comfortable getting in the car with. And if you're in the car and suddenly things get uncomfortable, do your best to get out of the situation right away. But once again, if you're doing it with a group or at least one other person, especially a man, then you'll feel a lot more comfortable, and it's something I would give a try if you're adventurous and you want to save some money. So I know this has been a really short video, but I actually have to pack up for a trip to Dublin today. Next week, I will be sharing another video about TAGHAZOUT, getting into the details of what it's like to spend a week there and what it's like and what to expect. But for now, this is all I have, so stay tuned for next week's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!